WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm in Scotland, as you can see, Springbank 2001 Vintage Batch 1. So there was a total of 6,000 bottles of this. Now how did I get my hands on one of these bottles that was actually bottled in the year 2009? Look at this, isn't that weird? This thing is just on top. It keeps the bottle from moving back and forth, but you can't take it out beforehand. So this was distilled, and it says so here in the bottle. I'll show you in a second, or I'll read from this. It says here it was 2001 batch number 1, and it says here bottled July of 2009. So it's an 8-year-old whiskey. 8 years old, people. All right, 55.3%. And if you look at this, you can see a lot of the details that are different than from what we have today. So what can we compare it to? Well, I have a Springbank. Didn't put it in the bottle room. The box, right? Springbank 12-year-old cask strength with 54.2%, which means it's batch number 14. This is 70% cherry, 30% bourbon casks. So if you look at the packaging, a lot has changed. If you look at the bottle, even there, a lot has changed. Look at that design compared to this design. Old bottles, new bottles. Old boxes, new boxes. Even here, you have the Springbank in the background, which you can barely see. You see it now. Here, you have nothing of that kind at all here. But on the back, you do see a lot of things that are very, very similar. You still have the Springbank. You still have the similar text. You have the S with the box around it, which has also changed. Here we have for Germany, the Grüne Punkt, which was here for recycling. And here you have the recycling bin. And now what you have also is the drunk lady's not allowed to take whiskey. All right, so that has been added here. All right, very, very good. And of course, the barcode is now on the label, which wasn't the case back then. So why did I buy this? Well, I bought this because I like to go to certain auctions, and I like to try to buy a Springbank. Now, if you go to, for example, whiskyauction.com, it's a German site, actually. Thomas Krüger, hey, if you're watching, he actually is the owner and the co-owner of that site together with another person. And they've been doing this now for 20-some years, I guess. And I bought quite a few bottles from them. And I just looked at they have a wonderful price development scheme or a chart. And you can see how this bottle actually started out around 60 euros and then went up to 80, 90 euros and then went up to 110 euros within about a year or two. And so the price is constantly rising for Springbank. I kind of coined the term here, whiskey inflation rate. Whiskey inflation rate is the amount of the price increase per year. And for me, for whiskey at the moment, it's someplace between 10 and 30% per annum per year. And with Springbank, it's between 20 and 40% often is recognizable here. So I decided, hey, I would like to try an older Springbank, even though it is a young Springbank. So distilled 2001 vintage, which I think is great. Whiskey base 10561. And I got this for a little less than 110 euros, which would be $130 if you'd like. The only thing I didn't know was it was an 8-year-old whiskey. I was like, oh, 2001 vintage. Oh, that's got to be old. And then, whoops, 8. All right, so I should have poured this a moment ago before I was talking the entire time. My question of the day is, what is your favorite Springbank whiskey? It's that easy. What is your favorite Springbank whiskey? So far, I've had the 18. I think I've had the 21 as well. I've had the 12. I've had the cask strength. I've had the 15 rum. I've had the 14 bourbon. I've not had the burgundy cask that everyone keeps on talking about. All right, so this was my control whiskey, and this is something for me totally new. All right, now I've done my German video, so I know what to expect. And the very first thing you will get is heat. This is a very, very hot whiskey for 55.3%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a tiny little nip of this. Oh, by the way, the nose is fabulous. You're getting a mineral type of grapefruit type of honey type of citrus moment. And then you get some nice little herbal moments and you get a tinge of peppermint. I'm not spearmint, mint. Let's just call it mint. And then you get that Springbank funk. Very good. All right, let's nip it. explodes like a bomb in your mouth. The heat just emanates and just takes over, tries to burn your taste buds to death. Am I over-exaggerating? A little bit. Even towards the end now, then it turns into a nice, delicious moment. But that heat is still radiating off of my taste buds. This is a very young and hot whiskey. But wait, there's more. If you do something which some people hate doing, dilute it. And I do not mean 3 drops. I mean, take it down to 40%. So you're adding almost as much water to it as the whiskey itself. About 2/3 whiskey, 1/3 water, okay? Try it again. So, let's nose it. Now, to be very, very honest, the nose doesn't change that much. There was not, did I mention alcohol in the nose the first time? No. It's just not really there. I get a nice mineral moment. I get the nice peppermint. I still get the honey in there. I get a little bit, the grapefruit has turned down the volume. And the herbs are actually still there. So the nose doesn't change that much. But slanche, which means to your health. This whiskey turns into delicious goldness after, and at the end you have the Springbank funk. It's just perfect. This is an excellent whiskey at 46%, 48%. This is a terrible whiskey at 55%. It's amazing how much this whiskey develops, changes, and just improves. It's just absolutely phenomenal, the difference between cask strength, 55.3%, and drinking strength at 46%. This is so good. I've diluted this down to below about 30%, and it still remains in a delicious, delicious whiskey. It's amazing how much is in here, and it's amazing how much alcohol burn you get. Now, are there people out there that can look over that alcohol burn? Yes. Just like there's people who do not recognize peat anymore. Yeah, you give Bart from the Scotch Test Dummies something with peat, and he goes, "Really? There was peat in there? I didn't notice it." And you give it to a newbie that doesn't like peat, and it's like, "I'm going to die. Pirate ship on fire." This stuff is fabulous with water. So going over here to my Springbank batch number 14, it's a totally different monster. That sherry, you get the little bit of the phosphor in there. You get a little bit of that acidity more in there. And then that wonderful funk, a little bit of the herbalness, a little bit of vanilla kicks in. Now, this is actually a whiskey I like to drink exactly as it was made, as God intended at cask strength. This is something that doesn't need water. 55% is here with this. 54%. It's just magical. It's great. It's wonderful. But it has a few more years in the cask. Those 3 extra years makes a difference. That's 30% more than here, over here with 9 years. And it's just a little bit too young. And yet it's still delicious. If you play with the water, if you get it down to the 46%, if you have the chance to buy this in the auction, take a look. Maybe the prices will do this in the future. They've gone up, and they've gone up, and now maybe they're taking the nosedive. Don't think so. I think Springbank is one of the best investments out there in the moment. If you want to invest in whiskey and you do not have the money to buy the high-price Macallans, go look for a couple Springbanks. $100, $120, $50 per bottle, wait 5 years, and then look at the price development. Springbank has a wonderful, wonderful, or terrible, terrible business plan. They release batches, and a lot of batches. 6,000 bottles here, 3,000 bottles there, 9,000 bottles there, 12,000 bottles there, 5,000 bottles there. There's like 20 to 30 different batches a year. This is if you go to Whiskey Base and you look at the distilleries and you look at how many different entries they have, this is the second highest entry of any distillery. The only one that has more is Ko'ila. that says something about the diversity. It says something about the variety. It says something about the collectability of this. Limited is good. You find a bottle like this, you want another one, you want another one, you want another one, and then suddenly there are no more of those 6,000 bottles left. And that's what happens, and the price goes up and up and up and up and up and up. So vintage, excellent. Batch 1, excellent. 55.3%, 46%, excellent. And the price is not really where I want to have it. So this is for me a B to a B minus whiskey. Value for money, if you buy it at auction, it's more of a C minus. If you bought it for the regular store price way back when, in 2009, and paid maybe 60 euros, maybe 50 euros, this would actually also be a B plus, or C plus, I'm sorry. A very good whiskey for a great whiskey for a very good price, if you can bring it over your heart to put the water in it that it needs. All right, so question of the day was already asked. What is your favorite Springbank expression? I like the old CVs a lot. They're very, very nice. And the 14-year-old bourbon cask was also a very interesting thing. The 18-year-old is fabulous, and I have a 21 and I have a 25, which I have to open one day. Let's see if that's great. If you want to look at a great Springbank 25 review, go over to Captain 3D. They actually did blind tasting, I think, with 5 or 6 of them. That was amazing. I learned a lot about my Springbanks, which I didn't know. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the button, the subscription button, as well as the bell, and I will see you soon. Thank you very much. If you need to get in contact with me, WhiskyJason@gmail.com. All the best. Bye-bye.